signing up for minimum affection, can't share their feelings and emotions, has sex right down the bottom of their values, expects me to do most of the housework and wants to watch television all the time.
If anyone had told me that I would be a Lucinda stunner, I would have said no on day one. But the read that she gave Timothy, the read was enough for me. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight Australia, Season 11, Episode 13. Another day, another episode of Mafs. Obviously, the couples are reflecting on the dinner party and everybody is just feeling awkward because there was the drama with Sarah and, Tim, and then there was the drama with Timothy and Tori, and obviously all the wives went after Ben, so it's very tense, and I think it's a good thing it happened the day before the commitment ceremony. That way the experts can sort of dissect that. And so you have Tori at home, she's waiting on her husband, and he brings her a coffee and he tells her that he's written her a poem. What do I think? I think one of his clients wrote that for him. I think he was as surprised at reading it and finding out what was contained in it as she was when she heard it. The audacity for her to have this grin like she's won the prize, and it's like, that this man had someone write it for you. Why would you need to write something down in order for him to sort of read it out to you? If he feels some type of way about you, you should have just said it from the heart instead of him taking out his phone and having to read it and saying, I wrote it for you at the gym. No, someone at the gym wrote it for him to read to you to sweeten you up. That's as far as I'm concerned. Because for him to say, I love the way you make our bed, I love the way that you fight for us, those are the things that he loves about his wife. Seriously. In that case, if you love someone who makes your bed, you might as well love your housekeeper then. Anyone can fight for your relationship. So that to me doesn't stand out, and that doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why she was eating that up. Sad, really sad. Timothy and Lucinda, here's what I think. I think Timothy is used to people leaving him, and he's going to do and say anything to turn his partner off so that they leave him, before he catches feelings. Because I don't get why he doesn't realize that Lucinda was offended by the fact that the girls were saying he dates 23-year-olds, by the fact that the girls were saying he's not attracted to his wife. And so for him to play ignorant, he's not ignorant. He is not naive. He knows for a fact that the girls were going to say this. And for him to think Lucinda would just, ignore that doesn't make sense. So when she told him that she's finding it difficult to be in a relationship with him, he's like, yeah, I am difficult to be with. And that's what he was after. He's in his way. He's not used to having good things. And so suddenly that he has someone who really likes him and is really willing to put in the work, he's decided to sabotage that, and sort of turn her away before he grows any feelings. And it's like, you can't go through life like that. You have to be open, especially if you enter an experiment like Married at First Sight. You have to be open to finding love in unusual ways, and you have to be open to being uncomfortable. So I don't get what he doesn't understand. So you have Ellie sort of reflecting on her sort of marriage and the issues that she's faced in the wake with Ben, in the sense that Ben was mocking her. Ben then was telling her that you're not my match. And it's like, if I'm not your match, then let's go home. You go home, I go home, you find your match, I find my match. There's no need for us to be dragging each other through all this mess. And so I don't know why she didn't decide to leave, whether she is still hopeful, or I didn't quite get what was going on with them. Anyway, all the couples arrive for the commitment ceremony, and the experts call up Ben and Ellie first. I think Alexandra was dying to drag Ben over the coals, so she really wanted to speak to him first before anybody else. So you have Ellie sort of tell the group that, Ben was saying that she's not his match. He was mocking her, sort of making, high-pitched sounds that he said resembled her. And I like the fact that the experts were quick to hold his feet to the fire to say, if you're saying she's not your match, then maybe it's time for you to go home. There's no need for you to continue to be here if you're saying she's not your match. Why would you want to stay in a marriage with someone who's not your match? And that makes perfect sense. If you think someone is not your match, go home. There's no need for negotiations. Go home and look for the person that is your match. Because at the end of the day, you put your trust in the experts and you told them what you were looking for in a wife. They gave you what you were looking for in a wife. And now you turn around and you say that the person is not your match. Well, in that case, then go home, please. Go home and find yourself the person that you believe to be your match. And the experts will, continue to work with those that want to be married. And the interesting thing about Mavs Australia and even the UK version is the other couples get to give their opinions on your marriage, and honest opinions, not behind your back. No, to your face. They tell you what they feel. If there are questions, they ask you questions. I really felt uncomfortable for Ben, because to have everyone sort of looking at you, the experts staring you down, and to have the other spouses sort of saying, Tori, I questioned you yesterday because I questioned your motives. And for, Jaden to bring up the issue about the children and the sudden turnaround, I think everyone is right to question it, because you can't say that I said this in my other review, that you can't say you've known your niece and nephew since they were born, or your nieces, whoever they were, and suddenly, because you're in the experiment and you're being questioned on whether you want children, you've had this epiphany, this aha moment, and you've changed your mind and you now want children. I'm not buying it. I think he's saying whatever he thinks needs to be said in order to stay in the experiment. And if that includes him sort of lying that he wants children, then he's going to say that. They're asked to make their decision and they're both right stay. I don't know why Ellie wrote stay. I think Ellie is very optimistic. I think she's very optimistic, and she's positively optimistic in the sense that he is putting in the work. He wants to change. As far as I'm concerned, Ben, I now believe what the cousin said, is there for the publicity, and he's managed to get publicity, because obviously there's the issue at the wedding, and then there's the issue with him mocking his wife and saying she's not his thingy. So he's got a lot of clout leaving the show when he does leave the show. That's my opinion. I remember in the comments, I was having a conversation with someone and saying that this looks bad, really bad for Tori, in the sense that she is bragging about her relationship. She is bragging about her connection with Jake, and how much she likes him and how much he likes her, and how attracted to her he is. And we all know, even the experts know, that Jack said he's not attracted to her. And I don't get why nobody brought it up, because when they sat on the couch, their immediate sort of default was to call out, Timothy for saying that he doesn't buy their connection. And it's like, but Alexandra knows that, this guy actually said he's not attracted to his wife. Why is she not calling him out on it? If we're going to call out Ben, then let us call Jack out as well, because he said he's not attracted to his wife. So let us call a spade a spade. And so for him to say, I really like my wife, this, that, and the other, and to be soppy and to be excited about the note, I think one of his gym buddies or one of his, students wrote that note for her. And yes, she's ecstatic about it. The fact that he says he really likes her, I actually have secondhand embarrassment for Tori, because when she sees the things this man was saying behind her back, she's going to be humiliated and she's going to regret bringing down another woman. So I don't get it that the ladies are always fighting for one another, and yet when it comes to Lucinda, they can drag her marriage and her husband and make comments that sort of are derogatory towards Lucinda just because she's not one of their close buddies. I didn't like that. Am I surprised that they stayed? No. They remind me of what's her name and Bronte and Harrison last season. They are going to stay on the show until the end just because they want the clout. I don't think they're going to stay in this marriage because they're hopelessly in love. No, they're doing it for the clout, and they're going to stay in it for the clout, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, Tori and Jackson stay. Surprising? Nah, I'm with Timothy for the change. If you had asked me on day one whether I would be a Lucinda stunner, I would have said, nah, she's not my cup of tea. But if there's anyone who's won me over this season, it's Lucinda. I love her emotional intelligence. I love her maturity. The fact that, they were the next couple up, and she was asked what's going on, and she was able to articulate everything that was concerning to her husband's behavior at the dinner party, the things that he does. She even called him out for not brushing his teeth before he goes to bed. Lucinda was on fire, and she sort of took him down in a very calm manner. She wasn't screaming, she wasn't shouting, she wasn't, all over the place. No, she laid out the facts. And she said to him, this week I've been observing you, because last week I was proactive and, it wound him up. So she decided to take a step back and just watch him and see what's going on. And if nothing else, I hope he sort of learns, because I give John credit for asking him, you say you've got a lot of baggage and you're using it as a shield to sort of avoid getting people closer to you. Do you think you'd find anyone else better than Lucinda in the real world? Never. His type would never have the emotional intelligence that Lucinda has. And the fact that he can't see this, I don't get. Lucinda is highly emotionally intelligent. She is articulate. She comes with a family, which is something that he needs and he wants. So the fact that he doesn't recognize this and he doesn't value it, I don't get. Both of them stay. Am I surprised? No. I like the fact that they didn't discuss the scenario with Jake and Tori at length. Lucinda just called out the things that her husband did that she didn't like, which I am very proud of her for doing. I hope, if nothing else, Tori takes a page out of Lucinda's books and stops looking at everybody else around her and focuses on her and her husband, and she realized that her husband ain't it. He ain't it. So next up is Cassandra and Tristan. And for me, I really loved them, but I think Cassandra is going to have to do a lot of training, in the sense that it seems like Tristan lacks experience in certain areas. But the thing is, he's a willing student, so hopefully, because she was telling him, I really loved the hug, I want more hugs and more kisses. And so I think it's just, I don't know who will teach him though. I wish the guys would have a guys' night out with him and just teach him on some of the ways that he needs to improve. And hopefully when he brings that home, his wife will be happy, because at the end of the day, he seems to be an amazing guy who's loving, caring, compassionate, and empathetic, but he just lacks the skill and the know-how. So hopefully some of the guys will empathize and be able to teach him and sort of help him so that he doesn't lose someone he really likes and he seems to have grown in love with. They both wrote stay. Am I surprised? Nah. That was to be expected. Jaden and Eden, you can see that they're falling in love. I hope the producers, when I see a couple doing very well, I always worry that the producers are going to look for drama because they don't want it to be predictable. But at the end of the day, there's no need for you to give them unnecessary drama. We can have a couple that works okay, that just see each other, fall in love, and are happily married. And so I hope they stay happy. They both wrote stay. Was anyone surprised? No. I think they need to take Richard at this rate and Andre and put them in the expert chair. Although I saw something about them falling out, during the experiment. Please, 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 as I said, producers, don't create mayhem. Because they're asked, about Intimacy Week, and Richard said he would talk, and that's when the train went off the tracks, because some of the information, TMI, he gave too much information. Everyone was dying. Everyone was embarrassed. But hey, it is what it is. As long as they're happy. I wish the other husbands would see what they would benefit if they really threw themselves in and they really put in the work. They would be surprised with the outcome of their marriages. But hey, it is what it is. Next up is Lauren and Jonathan. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by Lauren, because she really gave it her all. She was honest. She said and she repeated some of the nasty things she said about her husband. She wasn't defensive, and she was receptive to constructive feedback, which was also very positive. It's sad that Jonathan had to find out that she said he's boring, but I like the fact that he's very quiet and he believes in listening and just doesn't believe in responding. And so that was good to see. They both decided to stay. Am I surprised? No. Although I hear that someone wrote in the comments that apparently Jonathan is now with Ellie, which is sad, because I think someone like Lauren would have really benefited from, having Jonathan in their life. If they didn't work out as a married couple, hopefully they stay friends. But hey, it is what it is. Last up is Sarah and Tim. Sadly, Tim has been belittled so many times, he now lacks confidence and self-worth to sort of stick up for himself, because his wife has told him that you are nothing so many times, and she's spoken over him, and she won't allow him to speak, that he's lost his voice. obviously he, Sarah sat down and immediately she apologized to everybody for the way they behaved the previous night. And it's like, well, not really. You could tell her friends were embarrassed for her. They had secondhand embarrassment because they couldn't understand why she was behaving the way she was behaving. So they all sort of wanted to hide. And then I give it to the experts, to Mel, because she called her out and told her that, you were wrong in the way you behaved yesterday. It's unacceptable the way you spoke to your husband. Oh, but he shouted at me. Yes, he shouted at you. That's because he had reached his boiling point, because he could only take so much before he had to do something to get your attention. And for her not to realize this, I don't get. I really don't get. I don't get why she's confused as to why nobody's sort of empathizing with her or nobody's sort of sticking up for her, because she has been terrible to the poor man. She has been terrible. And Kaz, sadly, I think is creating drama for herself, because she sort of questioned her that, what is your intention? Do you really like this man? And this man seems, well, she didn't say that, but she more or less implied that he's lost his voice and that every time his wife is around, he can't speak up for himself. He's a totally different being when his wife is not there, but when she's around, he's a shadow of himself. And so I don't know how this is going to play out amongst the wives, because her friends know this, but they won't speak up. They won't say anything. And so I don't know whether Kaz was the right person to sort of bring it up to her, to say, you're being horrible to your husband. You need to do better. You need to allow him to speak up for himself. Yes, Tim sort of tried to speak up for himself, but he didn't say he was afraid. My concern is you get these couples that end up liking each other's partners. And from the trailer from tomorrow, I hope Kaz hasn't suddenly developed feelings for Tim, and I hope the same doesn't apply to Tim, because it would be heartbreaking for poor Tristan, because he seems to be, falling in love with his wife, or he said he was in love with her. Yeah, they both wrote stay, but I think it's just because people want to be on the show, not because there's anything there. I think they just want to stay on the show. This is why they've both written stay, and they'll stay on the show for as long as they can. I think Sarah is more or less staying because of her friends. She's not staying because of her marriage, because her friends had to encourage her to sort of hug her husband, and it took forever for them to hug, and she had to initiate it, because I don't think Tim was comfortable in doing that. But anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 12. Bye guys.